I almost didn't make this video. Last Wednesday, Rick called me. 19 years as a food distributor rep, he covers Walmart, regional chains, and club stores, all at once. He sees what's moving and what's being cut across the whole system simultaneously. He said, "I want to tell you what I'm watching right now. Because the preppers who are ahead of this are already buying quietly, and the ones who aren't are going to feel it before May ends." He's called things like this before. A canned protein shortage, 6 weeks before the limit signs went up. A cooking oil price move, 3 months before retail felt it. Both times he was right. Both times the data backed him up. Last Wednesday he gave me 8 categories. Said, "Write these down. May is the window." I verified every word against named sources before filming this. Here's what smart preppers are buying right now. Before May ends, 8 items. Here's what Rick is watching right now. Number 1, white rice. When Rick opened with rice, I didn't push back. I expected rice. What I didn't expect was the specific number he cited and what's sitting behind it. He said his retail accounts have been showing consistent, sustained order volume increases on rice for weeks. Not a spike. A climb. The quiet kind that happens when people who understand supply chains start positioning before the general public catches on. I pulled the data after we hung up. USDA's May 2026 World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates, published just this month, project the new U.S. rice crop at 175.2 million hundredweight. That is down 15% from the prior year. The lowest U.S. rice production since 2022. U.S. farmers planted 493,000 fewer acres this cycle. And globally, analysts at the International Rice Economics Forum are flagging what they call a period of heightened uncertainty. Strait of Hormuz tensions driving fertilizer and transport costs higher for every major Asian rice producer simultaneously. 15% in one crop year. That's not a minor fluctuation. My neighbor Tom has been buying an extra 10-pound bag every grocery run for 6 weeks. Didn't say a word to me about it. I saw the bags stacked in his garage when he left the door open one evening. When I asked him, he just shrugged. He said it seems smart right now. That was it. Current price, 80 cents to $1.20 per pound. Rick's end of May projection, $1.30 to $1.80 as new crop tightness begins reflecting at retail. Buy 25 to 50 pounds now. White rice only for long-term storage. Brown rice has natural oils that limit its shelf life to 6 months. Sealed containers with oxygen absorbers, white rice holds 25 to 30 years. This is the single most cost-efficient calorie you can buy right now. And if rice surprised you, number 2 is the one Rick lowered his voice on. Literally. Mid-sentence, his voice dropped. Number 2, ground coffee. I said, "Isn't coffee already priced in? Haven't people been buying ahead for months?" Rick said, "The people who watch supply chains have. Everyone else is still buying one bag at a time and hoping it stabilizes." He explained what he's been seeing across his accounts. Premium coffee is one of the fastest rotating categories at the distributor level right now. Reorder cycles are shortening. Fulfillment rates on certain whole bean varieties are dropping. His retail accounts are starting to flag coffee as a watch category, meaning they're expecting availability gaps within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Here's what I found when I verified his read. Bell's data from July 2025 showed ground roast coffee hit $8.41 per pound, a record high, up 33% year over year. Global arabica prices hit a 50-year high in February 2026. Volcafe, one of the world's leading coffee trading houses, cut its 2025/26 Brazil arabica production estimate by 11 million bags after a crop tour revealed the full severity of Brazil's extended drought. The 5th consecutive year of global arabica deficits. A typical supermarket blend that ran $6 to $7 per pack is now running $11, according to Bell's pricing data. 50-year high. Fifth consecutive deficit year. Let that land. My brother vacuum seals his coffee in weekly use portions and freezes them. Has been doing it since I told him about this 8 months ago. He paid last year's price on everything sitting in his freezer right now. Every bag he opens tastes exactly the same as the day he bought it. Current price, $10 to $16 per bag. Rick's projection, continued upward pressure through summer, no meaningful relief until 2026 Brazilian harvest recovery is confirmed. Buy 4 to 6 bags beyond your normal supply now. Vacuum seal in weekly portions. Freeze them. Each portion goes directly from the freezer to the grinder. Never refreeze. Quality holds for up to 2 years this way. This is the single most psychologically important item on this list for most households. Number 3 is the one most people have completely stopped thinking about because it feels infinite. Number 3, white sugar. I said sugar? That's the last thing I'd put on a prepper list, Rick said. That's exactly why I'm putting it on this one. He explained the retail psychology he watches play out every single time. Sugar is a category nobody stockpiles until it's gone. It sits on the shelf for years. Everyone buys one bag at a time, and when a supply squeeze hits, the shelf clears in 48 hours and takes months to rebuild. He's watched it happen. He said the families who have a problem with sugar are always the ones who thought it was the last thing they needed to worry about. Here's the sourced picture, and this one genuinely stopped me. USDA's February 2026 food price outlook projected sugar and sweets prices to rise 6.7% in 2026. That is the single highest projected increase of any grocery category in the entire USDA report. Higher than beef. Higher than coffee. Number 1, and a Reuters poll from March 2026 projected sugar prices ending the year roughly 10% above current levels, driven by a global market shift from a surplus of 1.39 million tons in 2025-26 to a projected deficit of 1.5 million tons in 2026-27. Surplus to deficit. In one marketing year. That is a complete flip. And there's one more layer. Brazil, the world's largest sugar producer, is being pushed by rising oil prices to divert more sugarcane toward ethanol production. When oil gets expensive, sugar mills shift cane to fuel. Less cane means less sugar. That is happening right now, documented in multiple commodity reports. Highest projected grocery price increase of 2026. Surplus flipping to deficit. My mother-in-law laughed when I told her to buy extra sugar. I showed her the USDA number. She bought 15 pounds. Current price, 60 cents to 80 cents per pound. Rick's end of summer projection, 90 cents to $1.10 as the global deficit shift takes hold. Buy 20 to 25 pounds. White sugar stored completely dry in an airtight container lasts indefinitely. That is not an exaggeration. It is one of only a handful of foods with a genuinely infinite shelf life. Every dollar you spend on it today is a dollar saved from the higher price that the USDA has already forecasted. Number 4. Rick brought this one up himself. I hadn't asked about it. That distinction matters. Number 4. Cooking oil. I said, there's oil everywhere. Every store. Full shelves. He said, right now. Ask me the same question in 5 weeks. Rick explained what he's been watching in his distributor pricing sheets across multiple accounts. Vegetable oil, palm oil, and sunflower oil wholesale pricing has been moving upward for weeks on every reorder cycle. And the reason is something most consumers haven't connected yet. The FAO Food Price Index, published 2 weeks ago, showed the FAO Vegetable Oil Price Index jumped 5.9% in April alone. The highest level since July 2022, palm oil prices rose for the 5th consecutive month. The reason? Middle East conflict has pushed crude oil prices higher, increasing the economic incentive to produce biofuel from vegetable oil. When that incentive rises, food use oil supply shrinks. FAO's chief economist flagged this publicly, and Southeast Asian palm oil production is expected to decline in coming months due to weather stress, 5.9% in 1 month. That's not gradual. That's a move. My sister started buying 2 extra bottles every shopping trip. She told me she doesn't know exactly what's happening. She just said it feels like it did before the last time things got expensive. She's not wrong. That feeling is pattern recognition. Rick has the data behind it. Current price, $8 to $12 per liter for vegetable oil, $18 to $25 for extra virgin olive oil. Rick's projection, another 8 to 12% increase by the end of summer as biofuel demand pressure sustains through warm months. Buy 2 to 3 gallon containers of your primary cooking oil now. Stored cool and dark, most oils hold 18 to 24 months without quality loss. This is not a dramatic purchase. It's a sensible one given what the commodity data is showing right now. Number 5 is the one where Rick's distributor level red is most different from what the shelf looks like. Number 5. Canned tomatoes and canned beans. I know, 2 items in 1 slot. Rick flagged them together. Here's why. He explained that both categories are experiencing the same 3-layer squeeze simultaneously, and they're being hit harder than most canned goods because of one event that happened 6 weeks ago that most people missed entirely. Del Monte Foods, 139 years old, one of the country's largest canned vegetable processors, had their Modesto, California, cannery permanently closed in April 2026. Filed Chapter 11 in July 2025. The closure followed. 420,000 clingstone peach trees are being cut down. That processing capacity does not come back, ever. Rick said he is already receiving partial order fulfillment on canned tomatoes across multiple accounts. He orders what he needs. He gets 60 to 70%. Store the front face of the product, pull cans to the shelf edge so the section looks full when the warehouse depth behind it is almost gone. He said, "The shelf looks fine right now. What's behind the front row is a different story." Layer 2 is the Can Manufacturers Institute president Scott Breen saying publicly in January 2026 that he expects greater price increases in 2026 than in 2025, citing aluminum costs where the Midwest premium has exceeded $1 per pound for the first time ever. The U.S. imports nearly 70% of the steel used in food cans. That tariff cost hits every can on the shelf, regardless of what's inside it. And USDA projects processed fruits and vegetables, the category covering both canned tomatoes and canned beans, to rise faster than the 20-year historical average in 2026. My sister-in-law makes sauce every Sunday. 3 weeks ago, she went to buy her usual 6 cans. 2 of her preferred brands, shelf space completely empty. Not low. Gone. She texted me a photo. I knew exactly what Rick had been describing when I saw it. Current price, tomatoes 79 cents to 79 per can, beans 89 cents to $1.50 per can. Rick's 8-week projection, tomatoes $1.50 to $2.75, beans $1.75 to $2.50 as partial fulfillment gaps become visible at retail level. Buy 20 to 25 cans of each. Mixed varieties, whole, crushed, and diced tomatoes. Black, pinto, and chickpeas for beans. Variety matters for actual cooking use. Write the purchase date on top of every can with a permanent marker. Newest cans to the back. Oldest to the front, number 6. This is the one that has genuinely changed how I shop. Number 6. Honey and peanut butter. Rick put these together for the same reason he paired tomatoes and beans. Same demand pattern. Same supply squeeze. Same window. Honey first. Rick said raw honey is one of the categories where he's been watching consistent order volume increases from every single one of his retail accounts for weeks. Not 1 or 2, all of them. The quiet, sustained buying pattern that precedes a price move. And his wholesale pricing on honey has been incrementally higher on every reorder cycle for the past 2 months. The supply picture behind it, U.S. bee colonies lose 20 to 30% every winter, according to USDA annual surveys. The past 2 winters were among the harder survival years on record for colonies. When colonies collapse, domestic production drops, and rebuilding takes years because hives cannot be rebuilt quickly. Import volumes from Argentina and Ukraine, 2 of the largest honey exporters to the U.S., are down due to their own supply and trade pressures. And honey has a property no other food on this entire list has. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in Egyptian tombs, still edible. You are not buying a perishable. You are making a permanent investment. That is documented scientific fact, not marketing language. My friend James bought 6 jars of raw honey 2 months ago after I mentioned this. He texted me last week. 3 of the brands he bought are already $4 higher per jar than what he paid. He said, "I thought you were being overcautious." He doesn't think that anymore. Peanut butter. Rick flagged it because the supply has a specific vulnerability most people don't know about. Unlike wheat or corn, peanuts have no large government buffer stocks. There are no strategic reserves. When the harvest comes up short, as it did through drought stress in the Southeast Peanut Belt in 2024 and 2025, everyone feels it quickly. No cushion. And a former USDA economist, Cal Poly professor Richard Volpe, warned publicly in May 2026 that grocery inflation could reach 4 to 4.5% by year-end, specifically naming tariff pass-through and climate-related crop failures as the drivers. Peanut butter sits at the intersection of both. Natural peanut butter without added stabilizer oils stores up to 2 years unopened. Store it upside down prevents the oil from separating. Honey, current price $12 to $18 per jar. Rick's end-of-year projection, $25 to $35, as bee colony decline and import pressure compound. Buy 8 to 10 jars. Glass jars only. Room temperature. Never expires. Peanut butter. Current price, $3 to $5 per jar. Rick's projection, $6 to $8 by fall. Buy 15 to 18 jars. Number 7 is the one Rick said surprised even him when he looked at his own data. Number 7, canned salmon and sardines. I said fish? Both of them? Rick said yes. And here's why you need to understand both together. He explained the displacement dynamic he's been watching build for months. Ground beef hit $6.69 per pound in December 2025, up 19.3% year over year, and up 72% since 2020, according to USDA data. The cattle herd is at 86.2 million head, a 75-year low. Supply recovery is not expected before 2028 at the earliest. That price trajectory is documented and structural. When beef becomes unaffordable for regular weekly shopping, families move to protein alternatives. Canned fish is where they land. Rick said his order fulfillment rates on canned salmon have been stretching for 6 weeks. 3 days used to be standard. Now, it's 5 to 7. He's watching the demand increase hit before the supply can respond to it. That gap is the signal. The Bell's data confirms it. Fish and seafood prices increased 3.89% in just the first quarter of 2026, more than 3 times the overall inflation rate in that same period. USDA specifically flagged canned and frozen seafood as one of the categories most directly impacted by aluminum packaging cost increases. Norway, the largest seafood exporter to the U.S., is subject to American tariffs since August 2025, 3.89%. In 1 quarter. That's not gradual. And sardines specifically. Rick said the customers he watches who understand what's happening, the ones buying 10 to 15 cans at a time without saying a word, have moved away from tuna. They're buying sardines. Because sardines are the last affordable, nutritionally complete canned protein that the general market hasn't caught on to yet. Per dollar spent, sardines deliver more calcium than a glass of milk, more omega-3s per serving than most fish, more vitamin B12 than almost anything else in the canned aisle. That's USDA nutritional data, not a wellness blog. My neighbor Gloria had never bought canned salmon in her life. I mentioned it 6 weeks ago. She tried it once and called me 3 days later. Said it's actually good. She buys 2 cans every grocery run now without thinking about it. Salmon, current price $2.50 to $4.50 per can. Rick's fall projection $5 to $7. Sardines, current price $1.50 to $3.50. Fall projection $3 to $5.50. Buy 15 to 20 cans of each. Both hold 3 to 5 years. Add 2 to 4 cans per regular shopping run and let it build. And number 8. Rick said this is the one most preppers think they've handled. Most haven't, not at the level that actually matters. Number 8. Salt, whole spices, and dried herbs. I said, salt is forever. Everyone knows that, Rick said. Knowing and buying are different things. He explained the logistics pressure specific to heavy, low-margin commodities. Salt is one of them. When fuel costs rise, and they are right now, driven by Middle East energy disruptions documented in the FAO's April 2026 report, trucking companies prioritize high-margin freight. Salt sits at the bottom of that list every single time. Delivery costs are rising. And specialty salts, sea salt, Himalayan, and kosher have direct tariff exposure given their import origins. And for spices, Rick flagged something I hadn't thought about. His accounts are showing erratic fulfillment on whole spice categories. Not empty. Unpredictable. 1 week full. Next week, 3 SKUs are missing. That unpredictability at the distributor level is the early sign of supply chain friction that hasn't resolved yet. Whole spices store for 3 to 4 years. Pre-ground spices store for 6 months. The difference isn't marginal. It's the difference between something useful and something that went stale while you weren't paying attention. USDA projects multiple food categories to rise faster than historical averages in 2026. FAO's chief economist specifically cited elevated energy costs and Strait of Hormuz disruptions as raising production and transport costs across all agricultural supply chains. That cost lands on every product that needs a truck. Salt. Spices. Everything is heavy and low margin. My dad has had the same container of table salt for 3 years. When I told him to buy 10 more, he looked at me sideways. I told him a 26-ounce container of iodized salt costs $1.29. He bought 15. He said, "Why didn't I think of this before?" Because it feels infinite. That's exactly the trap. Salt. The current price is $1 to $2 per container. Buy 10 to 15 whole spices. Buy 6 to 8 varieties in whole form: black peppercorns, cinnamon sticks, cumin seeds, dried oregano, bay leaves, and garlic powder. Dried herbs in sealed glass containers away from any heat source. Salt never expires. Whole spices hold 3 to 4 years. This is the cheapest category on this entire list and the one that will be hardest to replace if you wait. Now let me say something directly before the action plan. Rick could be wrong. 19 years of distributor-level pattern recognition is not a crystal ball. Supply chains self-correct. Trade agreements shift. A weather pattern breaks the right way. I'd rather say that clearly than pretend otherwise. But here's what I know with complete certainty. Regardless of anything Rick predicted, USDA has revised their 2026 grocery inflation forecast upward multiple times this year. It now sits at 3.2% for food at home, up from 2.4%, with one former USDA economist warning it could reach 4.5% by year-end. Sugar is projected as the single highest increase grocery category. Coffee is near a 50-year high for the 5th consecutive deficit year. Beef up 72% since 2020, with no supply recovery before 2028. Vegetable oil is up 9% in a single month. Del Monte's California cannery permanently closed, can manufacturing costs at 6 times last year's tariff levels. These are not Rick's predictions. These are named, sourced, documented facts. Buying now is financially smarter than buying later, even if zero scarcity happens. That math works in your favor either way. Here's the actual plan. 6 weeks. Structured. Affordable. This week, under $55. White rice, 25 pounds. Cooking oil, 2-gallon containers. These two are moving fastest at the wholesale level right now, according to Rick's current data. Next 2 weeks, under $75 total. Coffee, 4 to 6 bags vacuum sealed for the freezer. Sugar, 20 pounds. Peanut butter, 12 to 15 jars. Longest shelf lives. Most directly sourced price pressure. Weeks 3 and 4, under $65 total. Canned tomatoes, 20 cans mixed. Canned beans, 20 cans mixed. Del Monte's closure impact is already showing in Rick's fulfillment data right now. Weeks 5 and 6, under $60 total. Honey, 8 jars. Canned salmon, 10 cans. Sardines, 10 cans. Salt, 10 containers. Whole spices, 6 varieties. These hold the longest and cost the least per unit of protection they give you. The one rule that covers everything: cool. Dark. Dry. Purchase date, not expiration date, written on every item in permanent marker. Newest to the back. Oldest to the front. Photograph your pantry before every shopping run. 10 seconds. It saves you from buying doubles and missing gaps. You now know what Rick is watching from inside the distribution system right now. You know U.S. rice production is down 15% in the new crop year. You know vegetable oil jumped 5.9% in April alone. You know sugar is USDA's single highest projected price increase for 2026. You know Del Monte's California cannery is permanently closed and that production isn't coming back. You didn't get that from a headline. You got it from someone watching order data across multiple retail chains simultaneously and from the sourced numbers that confirm what he's seeing. The preppers moving right now aren't panicking. They're not clearing shelves. They're just a few weeks ahead. That's the whole distance. A few weeks before the price moves. Before May ends and the window Rick described closes, we don't panic. We position. Drop a comment. Which one of these are you buying first this week? I read every single one. Share this with one person who needs to hear it. Subscribe and hit the bell. We track this every month. You'll know what changes before the shelf shows it. Stay smart. Stay prepared. See you in the next one.